that's the power of some of the warrant potential. The shares have gone up a little bit, but not substantially. Now that warrant will probably continue to go up as the company performs, as metal prices start picking up and all the resource sector starts to perform.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, I've liked this person's publication for over a decade. I've made money off of it on several occasions, in spite of myself. And he's back with us now, Dudley Baker, CommonStockWarrants.com. It is, to my knowledge, the most comprehensive database of common stock warrants out there. And Dudley, it's great to have you back on the show. So warrants, mostly publicly traded warrants, we're focusing on the resource sector. The resource sector has been a veritable train wreck of late, but every dog has its day. Not that I think it's a dog, I think it's elemental for successful investing and to the benefit of society. You've got to have resources. What is wrong with the market now, Dudley?
Man, like I say, our day will come. When that's going to be, but I've got to believe sooner rather than later. I would think this is what I have to call a contrarian's dream right now, because these resource shares are beaten up so bad and continuing to be beaten up here this morning as we talk. And but it's setting the stage for something here, and it just kind of, I think all of us in the business, so to speak, can't quite believe that the resource shares are lagging as bad as they are. Even with gold still hanging up here in the 1900 range and bouncing on the 2000, the shares just historically are just really, really depressed. Now, I've got to believe there's going to be a big snapback once reality does set in. We don't know what that will be. I've got another service. I think a lot of us in the business or not have a lot of other newsletters or whatever that we subscribe to. Our views are basically, come from somewhere. We just don't wake up in the morning and dream all this stuff up. So, we follow certain people in the business, that we like, that we respect. Hopefully they're right more often than wrong. But we all have our companies that we like to follow. There's one that I subscribe to, if I can mention. I got no dog in this fight. There's no affiliate program. There's no nothing. But it's coming down to maybe this is why we are so depressed at the moment in gold and in shares. This is Gone Global. James Flanagan. He follows a lot of the work of D.W. Gone, and I've been on board with them for 6 months or so, maybe a year. What Jim sees coming up, according to his work, August 14, so we're knocking on the door of August 14, is the 60-year cycle low in precious metal stocks, as he's measuring this. In December 4th, I believe it is, 90-year cycle low, precious metal stocks. Let's assume for the moment that this is correct, okay? And I'm not here to overly promote anybody's service. It's just a framework here that I've got. That if Jim is right, well, this is causing a big down pressure on gold and on mining shares as we speak. And they're almost coming down into these cycle lows, major 60 and 90-year cycle lows. Once these lows have passed, then the downside pressure should be released, and we should see a big up move, at least starting to perform. And that's kind of what I'm kind of in following James to some degree. I follow a lot of people, but this just makes sense to me. And so once these dates have passed and this first August date coming up, a lot of downside pressure will be released. We should start seeing some nice movement coming up in the gold and the shares. And of course, he's looking for major movement to the upside once these cycle lows are in place. So I just kind of like to throw that on the table. And maybe this is all happening because of these cycle lows out here that we're all confronted with. And then we get back to the fundamentals is what's gonna make gold go up. Unfortunately, right here as we speak, the U.S. dollar is still has started performing very well again. We're back over 102 on the U.S. dollar index, and I think once we broke, a couple of weeks ago, broke that 100 level, there was a good chance we was just going to fall away, and that would have been great for gold. But lo and behold, the dollar comes back, the strength comes back, and all of this good stuff. So I always say, the timing is difficult. I mean, I think our gut feel is that we're getting closer and closer every day to a bottom, to some impulse movement that's going to start making our sector perform and doing a big catch up. Always with me, I always love to talk about the 10 baggers. Nowadays, if we get monster rally in front of us in gold and in shares, 10 baggers will be nothing, many going up 10 times, 1,000%. When you've got little stocks down selling for a few pennies and they're still in business, it's like, my goodness, now you're looking at 20, 30, 40, 50 times your money potentially. And so I think it behooves, all of our listeners, kind of pay attention, take advantage, because some of these are fairly decent companies that are selling on the cheap, being given away at the moment, and that will come back to life. Yeah.
You're pretty confident about that, huh, Dudley?
Well, I am confident now, whether this starts tomorrow or 3 months from now, but I do believe, my gut tells me by the end of this year, we're going to be substantially higher than we are today. Now, every individual can play this differently. You can say, well, Dudley, okay, I believe you, but I'm going to wait until, the shares start moving up, and I'm going to buy into this at a later date. Well, once I think, I know you've seen it before, I've seen it many times, is once this sector does turn, it can go up 100% just overnight. I mean, it'll be incredible. So you will be paying, double the price, triple the price. And yes, there will be a lot more to come. But me, I've always been a guy that gets in early. And believe me, those of us that get in early, we go through a lot of pain and a lot of frustration because we are friggin' early. And so I'm not a happy camper here at the moment, but I have full confidence that at the end of the day here, that we're going to, all of the positions I've got are going to perform incredibly well. So anyhow, I just fully believe that. I've got one. Let me mention one warrant that started recently trading here. Since I'm, they think of me as a warrant guy, I better mention one warrant anyway. And I do not own it. And the story is, why do I not own it? Okay, so
I want to hear this.
It's a bizarre story because it's Lion One Metals, LIO, on the Venture Exchange, a big project over out in the middle of the islands and the Fiji Islands. And I know that's one of Bob Moriarty's companies, et cetera. Well, several months, now maybe a month, 2 months ago now, they had a listing. The warrant actually started trading. My brokerage firm did not immediately pick it up, meaning I could not buy it. That warrant was down at 8 cents, traded hundreds of thousands of warrants that first day or 2 days. Before I could get my brokerage firm to get this warrant listed so I could buy it, the damn warrant's up to 14 cents. Today, the warrant's sitting around 25 cents. This is all, let's say, happened within 4 to 6 weeks max. So again, it's a great warrant story if anybody listening had that opportunity to buy that. If their Canadian brokerage firm, allowed them to buy that on day one, well, they're in at 8.5 cents, sitting at 25 cents at the moment. They've just made a couple of 100% in 6 weeks. So that's the power of some of the warrant potential. The shares have gone up a little bit, but not substantially. Now that warrant will probably continue to go up as the company performs, as metal prices start picking up and all the resource sector starts to perform. But that's just one story of the power of the warrants. And sometimes if you get them coming right out of the chute on that first day or two that they're listed, pick them up on the cheap. There's never a guarantee, but this has worked numerous times. Another interesting story, I may have mentioned this to you before and to our listeners. We all keep hearing about uranium. One day uranium's got to come back, yada, yada, yada. I frequently, and same way right now, over here on the side, I'm always watching BNN Bloomberg coming out of Toronto every day. And so about two weeks ago, I missed the programming, but I heard the summary after that our friend Rick Rule was on. And Rick had a few of his top picks. Okay, and I'm happy to hear one of his top picks is one of my top picks, and that is mega uranium. Okay, we all remember mega uranium back in the early, damn near 20 years ago now, where mega went from nothing up to rang the bell at $8. Well, right now, mega on the Toronto exchange is still around 24 cents. And that's probably on average just about where I'm in. And I've been in for longer than I want to say, but probably 2 years anyway, maybe 3. But there's little doubt in my mind that mega is going to be a home run as the uranium sector does take off. And interestingly, they're not an exploration company anymore. They're basically an equity holder. They've got like 20 million shares of NextGen on the Toronto exchange. 20 million, and the stock's trading at over $6. So they got over $120 million of market cap in that position, and they own other share positions in 2 or 3 other Australian mining companies. So it's an interesting play. It takes very little cash for them to do this because they're basically just an equity holder. So we don't need NASA's amount of cash. They're not poking holes in the ground. It's all these little exploration companies that when they continue drilling, it's all about raising money and drilling, poking holes, raising money and poking holes. Well, I mean, how long can you go on with this story? The worst thing that always happens to any of us in this story, and that's scenario, is that then the company eventually has to do a rollback. And I hate rollbacks, one for 5 reverse split, 1 for 10, 1 for 20. And they all say we're building shareholder value. Well, once you do a rollback, you can forget shareholder value. You've kind of been screwed, and that's just reality at the end of the day as an investor myself. So anyhow, but that's just one company I like. If I can, I'm gonna give you 2 more examples.
Sure.
That are so cheap that I can't believe that they're this cheap. The first one is Oryx Minerals, REX, trades on the Venture Exchange. Been around for a long time. They've got a current presentation they just put on their website, and some of the biggest shareholders are Sprott, U.S. Global, our friends Frank Holmes out of San Antonio. I think if I remember the story, they together own over 50% of this little company. This little company, basically, same thing, is more like a prospect generator. They've got a couple of projects down here in Mexico. It partnered with Pan American Silver and with Fresnillo, the largest mining company in Mexico. And the deal is, right now, you can buy this all day on the Canadian exchange for 0.025, and on the U.S. market for less than 2 cents. I picked up a little bit more the other day at like 0.016. Can't even believe that. Almost a penny and a half in the U.S. market. And the deal is, it's just sitting there. Once these markets do turn, it will be an interesting situation. And when you say 10 bagger, well, does that mean you're going to go from 2 cents to 20 cents? I got to believe it's going to, we're going to
a lot more than that
to $1. No, let the good times roll. So I think, and assuming the company still, has some good news coming out. But I was impressed the other day when I looked at the website and I see that they've got a current presentation. Everything's up to speed, telling us about what's happening, and the stocks can be had for 2 cents. Now, if that's too much for our listeners to pay, I've got another example. And that little company, I've loved this name, okay? And they've got a couple of projects there in Mexico, and it's called Silver Spruce Resources. How could you not love that name? I mean, when, not if, but when silver takes off, this is a great name. I think they've got 2 projects here in Mexico that they've just announced they're going to start drilling again, and another project up in Canada. Right now, a penny and a half. A penny and a half. And in the U.S. market, I think you pick it up for roughly 0.0125, so a penny and a quarter. It's just outrageous. So I say all this with full disclaimer. Everybody do their own due diligence. I'm throwing out a couple of names. Now I've got really nice positions in all of these that I'm mentioning here, and but I just not that I'm wishing and hoping, because I know that these will perform.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. Now, I will say if I own 10 or if I own 20, 30, 40, 50, which probably in total more like 40 or 50 different positions, yes, 1 or 2 may blow up in my face, and maybe something happens that it no longer has that potential that I believe that it had at day one. But yet I'm still confident that, we got a lot of good upside in front of us. All of us are just asking the question, what's going to be the catalyst, to take the downside pressure off of gold and silver and all these shares. Everybody I know is sitting and waiting for the Fed to start lowering interest rates. And everybody thinks that's going to be the catalyst. And now it seems like everybody's thinking that, Fed may have another increase or 2 in them, and maybe we're putting off the rise in gold. And I think that's what's causing this last move to the downside. I don't know that any of us, I know I'm not smart enough to figure this stuff out to know exactly what's going to happen. So we've got to decide, where do we think we're going to be, 6 months, 2 years down the road? And I'm comfortable we're going to be in a really warm and fuzzy space for the mining investors. And it's a question, when do you enter this game? And some of these positions are selling so low at the moment. Buy some, put them away for a little bit, and I think you're going to be greatly rewarded. Just maybe months, maybe a year down the road. But we do want, when we get a rally, I think we'd all agree, we don't want a rally just going to last 3 months or 6 months. We want something that's going to take gold substantially higher. We need probably a good 2 years, 3-year movement. Give everything time to, the inertia to pick up, and all the mining stocks is as low down the totem pole as they would be. Give them time to get excited and start heading up. Obviously, the producers will be the first ones that will go up, and so I've got a basket of those as well in my portfolio. So so some of my subscribers, if they said, well, Dudley, I kind of like what you're talking about. You can see my whole portfolio as a gold subscriber or as a lifetime subscriber, and that's what Kerry's been for a long time, as a gold subscriber. So we've got so everybody can see what I'm doing. If I buy something or sell something, I send everybody an email, let them know what is taking place. And but net, I'm I don't know. I've heard some people say this about Rick Rule is like a perma bull, and it's like maybe I've kind of got that same hat on as kind of a perma bull, and we go through these long depressing cycles to the downside and sideways. So, but I think there's always the timing. When do you enter the game? When do you come in? And I have to believe that right now we're and I believe this for several months, but yet this has to be a great time to still be entering this game on the cheap. And there's a little bit of patience, and I think you'll be greatly rewarded.
All right. On that note, I suggest you all go over to commonstockwarrants.com, and you can take a look at Dudley's personal portfolio, where he's most weighted, least weighted, and you can get a good insight on because look, you get leverage from these warrants when the market goes up that you just can only dream of, and they're marketable, they're liquid, they get more liquid as the market goes up. We've got a link in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com, and by all means, click it and visit Dudley's site. If you got a question for Dudley or myself, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com, and we'll answer your question. We'll get you an answer quick. Dudley, always appreciate you coming on, and we will talk to you again soon.
Enjoyed it. Thanks, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.